Utah. Get me two. Point Break, 1991, Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze, Laurie Petty, Gary Busey, John C. McGinley, and directed by Catherine Bigelow. It's a weird, isn't it? Like one of the best action films. One of the best action films is directed by a woman, right? But she's done a great job. I'm not that keen on some of her newer films. The political kind of, I think, Dark something Zero or something. Seen a bit of it, wasn't really interested in it, but I liked Point Break. I thought Point Break was really, really good. And one of the things that is interesting about Point Break is the two characters, Johnny Utah and Bodhi. Now, the two of them are kind of like kindred spirits in the film. They have more of a connection between each other, right, than they do with pretty much anyone else in the film. So they're kind of like these kindred spirits, right? So even though Johnny Utah is the FBI and he's on, they're taking down, bank robbery, right? So they're on bank robbery detail, right? So even though it's kind of like, even though he has that job, even though Bodhi is, kind of like, the surfer and kind of like, the bad boy and stuff like that. And it's a spiritual essence through the film, though, as well. It's not just about kind of like robbing money and stuff like that. It's about pushing yourself to the limit to try and find something outside of just thrills and kicks. Even though there's thrills and kicks in the film, skydiving, all the thrill hunting and all that kind of stuff. But still, for these particular people, especially for Bodhi and stuff like that, it is more than that. It's like, so when I think of Point Break and I watch the film, obviously you always think back to your own life as well. And you think about some of the things that you do, I do, right? And there is that part of it, like even making things harder for you or more uncomfortable for yourself or whatever, and then to try and learn something in the process. So that's very important that you try and learn something in the process. So just say Keanu Reeves' part, he learned more from Bodhi than he could possibly learn from the other people in the FBI because they're just doing a job and they're just kind of gung-hos. All right? So it's a really fascinating film, Point Break, because it seems just like, oh, it's a surfer movie, or it's just like the FBI, people robbing banks with ex-presidents' masks on and stuff like that. But if you really think about the whole film, though, it's an unusual movie. And like I said in my other reviews, I like unusual movies. You know what I mean? When they have that kind of like backstory of something deeper than what's really going on. And Keanu Reeves this was before Speed, before he became kind of like an action hero and John Wick and all the rest of it. So it was kind of like one of his, I think it was his first action film, really. Before that, he was just like Bill and Ted, right? But he was really, really good in it. The film was great. The action was great in it. Patrick Swayze, he just came off Ghost when he made Point Break. So you'd think kind of like coming off Ghost, and you think, well, he's going to play this surfer. Why would he do that? One of his best films. It's his best performance. It'd probably go down. Just say in the future, you look back and you think of Patrick Swayze, you'll think of Point Break, and you wouldn't really think of that. You would think of him that was his best film, Point Break. And to me, it is. It's his best film, without a doubt. It's a brilliant film. Great action film. And I think that kind of like the part with Keanu Reeves, the fact that he kind of like, he doesn't fit in with the FBI. He fits in more with Bodhi. He fits in more. He wants to learn stuff. He's an individual on his own, wandering around on his own, even though he happens to be with the FBI. Right, so he's kind of the same as him. They're the same. So he feels more kinship towards him than the people in the FBI. Right, so that's really interesting. And the way they done it was very, very good. And you can see in the film the connection between the two of them. It went beyond just, there was some sort of special connection there between the two of them, and it played out perfectly in the film. So Point Break, 100% great film. And they remade it again, I think in 2015. What a load of crap. Waste of time. And they always do that. They try and remake classic films. What's the point? Just watch the classic film. We don't need to remake it. I yield.